Have you ever wondered why the Bible mentions money so many times? The answer lies in how financial management directly affects our lives and relationships. When we realize that there are more than 2,000 verses talking about finances and resources, it becomes clear that this topic is important for personal and spiritual growth. Each biblical teaching has a very practical purpose: to teach responsibility, generosity, and wisdom. Today, the goal is to show how these principles can be applied so that you can achieve stability and enjoy inner peace. Regardless of your income level or investment experience, there are truths that span centuries and remain relevant. Maybe you've heard about people who thrive but can't maintain emotional or family balance. The difference is in building a solid foundation, both in the financial and spiritual spheres. It makes sense to look for solutions that offer clarity. From this, you can discover that genuine prosperity is not just about how much you accumulate, but how you use your resources to fulfill a greater purpose. Many believe that talking about money goes against faith, but the Bible teaches otherwise. The key is in how we deal with what we receive, directing what we have towards what really matters. Thus, we prepare the ground for actions that align with the divine desire to bless and multiply. Throughout this study, we will see practical examples of how to apply these concepts. Faith does not need to be the enemy of a prosperous life. On the contrary, it can be a great ally for us to live with balance, discipline, and a grateful heart. Open your mind to new possibilities and discover how each small financial choice affects your well-being. When we act consciously, we experience lasting changes that bring positive results in both material and spiritual areas. Amid so much information about investments, interest, and consumption, many people feel lost or overwhelmed. The feeling of working hard without seeing real progress generates frustration and discouragement. The question arises, why do some manage to balance faith and finances while others struggle to get out of debt and achieve stability? The lack of biblical and practical guidance can be a decisive factor in the accumulation of financial problems. When we don't have a solid foundation, we are vulnerable to anxiety and constant worry. The reality of those who deal daily with late invoices and endless installments is often marked by the feeling of always chasing. This endless race damages relationships, affects mental health, and undermines confidence in the ability to overcome challenges. For those who look to the Bible for answers about prosperity, sometimes they only find vague sermons or superficial instructions that do not lead to concrete results. However, there are clear principles that offer financial stability and peace of mind. A crucial point is understanding that prosperity is not limited to numbers. It is a mentality of management, care, and generosity. When faith is incorporated into financial life, there is greater clarity in making decisions and prioritizing what really adds value. Letting consumerism take control leads to wasted resources and constant inner dissatisfaction. With a balanced approach, we can achieve a healthy relationship with money and the people around us. This perspective makes us question deep-rooted behaviors and unmasks limiting beliefs that keep many in stagnation. From the moment they understand, Chapter 3, Solutions Overview, 150 words. The search for financial balance is not just about increasing income or cutting expenses, but about developing a mindset that favors wise and consistent decisions. The Bible offers profound teachings about money, and when applied correctly, these principles generate security, growth, and positive impact in the lives of those who follow them. Biblical wisdom teaches us to save, avoid debt, work diligently, and manage our resources with discernment. Throughout this study, we will see how these principles connect with current reality and how they can be applied in everyday life to create a sustainable path to prosperity. Small adjustments to the way we handle money can generate extraordinary results in the long term. Each of these teachings will be explored in detail, allowing you to understand how faith and financial responsibility can go together to transform not only your economic situation, but also your view of the purpose of money. Throughout history, the relationship between money and faith has generated diverse discussions and interpretations. However, when we observe the scriptures, we realize that God does not condemn wealth, but rather its misuse and excessive attachment to it. The Bible contains more than 2,000 verses that address finance, an impressive number that highlights the importance of the topic. Proverbs 22:7 warns about the danger of debt, while Matthew 6:21 teaches that where our treasure is, there our heart will be also. These verses show us that financial management is more than a practical matter, but a direct reflection of our values and priorities. Many live under the weight of financial anxiety because they have never learned to apply biblical principles in their resource management. When we ignore these teachings, we become vulnerable to traps such as uncontrolled consumerism, debt, and lack of planning. However, by understanding that the Bible offers clear guidelines for prospering responsibly, we begin to see money as a tool to fulfill a greater purpose. A balanced financial life begins with a correct understanding of the role of money in our journey. Instead of seeing it as an end in itself, we should use it as a means to serve, invest in the future, and honor God with our resources. This shift in perspective transforms the way we handle our finances and paves the way for sustainable growth. Among the many examples of financial management found in the Bible, the story of Joseph in Egypt stands out as one of the most powerful. During 7 years of plenty, Joseph advised the Pharaoh to set aside part of the harvest to ensure sustenance in the years of scarcity that would follow. This principle remains relevant today. Saving part of your earnings is essential to face uncertain times. Many modern financial experts recommend setting aside at least 20% of your income for emergencies and investments. This practice helps to avoid dependence on credit and provides greater security for unforeseen moments. When we look at this strategy from a biblical perspective, we realize that God has always guided His people to prepare for the future. The reality is that many people live on financial limits because they spend everything they receive without thinking about tomorrow. This leaves them vulnerable to crises and dependent on high-interest loans. Creating the habit of setting aside a percentage of your income requires discipline, but the benefits are undeniable. Fewer worries, greater freedom, and opportunities to invest in something that really brings a return. Saving does not mean living in fear or failing to enjoy life. It means having control over your finances and being ready to act wisely in any circumstance. This small adjustment in the way we handle money can avoid future difficulties and ensure greater long-term stability. Today's society is driven by unbridled consumption. Advertisements, social media, and market trends constantly encourage the purchase of products that are often unnecessary. However, the Bible warns us about the dangers of greed and excessive attachment to material goods. In Luke 12:15, Jesus teaches us that a man's life does not consist of the abundance of the possessions he possesses. Adopting a simpler lifestyle does not mean giving up comfort, but rather learning to value what really matters. When we prioritize what has true meaning, such as relationships, purpose, and generosity, we start to see money as a tool and not as an end goal. Many people get into financial difficulties because they try to sustain a standard of living above what they can actually afford. This generates stress, debt, and anxiety. On the other hand, when we cultivate a mindset of contentment and detachment, we are able to direct our resources towards what truly adds value. Eliminating unnecessary expenses and focusing on the essentials creates space for a lighter, more balanced life. With fewer financial worries, you have more time and energy to invest in personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This approach allows us to be more generous and contribute to causes that make a difference. Excessive debt has become one of the biggest financial challenges today. Credit cards, loans, and financing can quickly become a trap that is difficult to escape. The Bible warns us about this in Proverbs 22:7, where it is written that the debtor becomes the slave of the creditor. Many people go into debt without planning, believing that they will be able to pay it off in the future. However, accumulated interest makes debts increasingly difficult to pay off, creating a cycle of anxiety and frustration. The problem is not using credit, but doing so without control and without a clear payment plan. Avoiding debt requires discipline and organization. Creating a habit of only spending what you can afford avoids unnecessary stress and allows for a more balanced life. For those who are already in debt, it is essential to create a payment plan and prioritize paying off obligations before taking on new commitments. When we learn to live within our means, we are able to build a solid financial future aligned with biblical principles. It's not just about avoiding problems, but about ensuring freedom to invest and bless other people without the burden of debt. When financial principles can go hand in hand with spiritual values, we open space for real transformation. The purpose here is to bring hope and show that even in the midst of difficulties, there is a practical and safe way to progress. Diligent effort has always been valued in Scripture as a path to prosperity and personal fulfillment. In Proverbs 10:4, we read that, "Lazy hands make poor, but diligent hands make rich." This means that hard work not only generates resources, but also builds character and discipline. Laziness leads to stagnation. while dedication opens doors to new opportunities. Many believe that financial success depends on luck or privileges, but the truth is that consistency and the pursuit of excellence are the biggest determining factors. Those who excel in their professions or businesses are those who understand the importance of persistence. Working hard does not mean living overworked or neglecting your family and health. Rather, it is about finding meaning in what you do, using your God-given abilities to positively impact the world around you. When we view work as a calling, we begin to see it as part of the divine plan for our lives. Financial growth is a consequence of consistent habits. Those who learn to be diligent and act responsibly reap the rewards of this effort. Furthermore, work well done attracts recognition, new opportunities, and even valuable connections for the future. Diversification is an old but extremely effective financial principle. In Ecclesiastes 11:2, we read that we must divide our resources into 7 or 8 parts, because we do not know what evils may come upon the earth. This biblical guidance is surprisingly modern and applies perfectly to investment management. Putting all resources into a single type of asset can be risky, as markets are volatile and unforeseen events happen. The secret to greater financial security lies in diversification, that is, distributing money across different investments to reduce risks. This can include fixed income, stocks, real estate, and even your own business. Many people avoid investing out of fear or lack of knowledge, but a lack of financial preparation can be even more harmful than taking calculated risks. It is essential to seek knowledge, learn about different possibilities, and make decisions based on planning and strategy. Diversification protects against unexpected losses and increases the chances of sustainable growth. By adopting this practice, we follow a principle that has been applied since biblical times and which continues to be a pillar of modern financial education. Money can be an excellent servant, but a terrible master. In 1 Timothy 6:10, we find a clear warning. The love of money is the root of all evil. This doesn't mean that having money is wrong, but rather that putting it above everything else can be destructive. Many people sacrifice their family, health, and even faith in search of riches. The obsession with accumulating possessions can generate anxiety, unnecessary comparisons, and even an existential void. When money becomes the main focus of life, it turns into an idol that never completely satisfies. Having a healthy view of finances means understanding that money is just a means, not an end. It should be used to build, share, and serve greater purposes. Generosity and gratitude are powerful ways to balance your relationship with financial resources and prevent them from becoming a trap. True prosperity is living with contentment and purpose. When we place God and our values above material goods, we find a peace that money alone can never provide. Building a heritage should not only be for your own benefit, but also for future generations. Proverbs 13:22 says that, "A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children." This principle teaches us about responsibility and long-term planning. Many live without thinking about the future, spending everything they earn and leaving their family unprotected. However, God calls us to be faithful stewards of the resources we are given, ensuring that our financial choices benefit not only ourselves, but also those who come after us. Leaving a legacy is not limited to material inheritance. A solid legacy includes financial education, upstanding values, and an example of life that inspires future generations. Teaching children to manage resources well and value honest work is a gift that will have a lasting impact. Planning for the future is not a sign of lack of faith, but rather of prudence. Building solid assets and investing in family security are ways to honor God and leave a positive impact on the world. Among all the riches that could be desired, wisdom has always been the most valuable. When Solomon had the opportunity to ask God for anything, he chose wisdom, and as a result, he also received riches and prosperity. 1 Kings 3:11-13. This principle remains true today. The search for knowledge and understanding is one of the greatest investments a person can make. Having money without wisdom can lead to waste and wrong decisions. But when we acquire discernment, we are able to multiply our resources and make safer decisions. Financial education is an essential tool for prosperity. Reading books, studying investments, and learning from experienced people are ways to develop a mindset that favors sustainable growth. The more we learn, the more prepared we are to face challenges and identify opportunities. The Bible teaches that wisdom is more valuable than gold, and that he who seeks understanding will succeed. Prioritizing intellectual and spiritual growth opens doors to a more balanced and prosperous life. Since the beginning of creation, work has been established as an essential part of human life. In Genesis 2:15, God placed Adam in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and care for it, showing that work is not a punishment, but a divine calling. Many people see work as just a means of making money, but the biblical view goes beyond that. The true purpose of work is to contribute, serve, and make a positive impact on the world. When we perform our duties with excellence and dedication, we reflect God's principles and find fulfillment in what we do. Discouragement and frustration at work often arise when we don't see a greater purpose. But when we understand that each task, no matter how small it may seem, can glorify God, we begin to have a new perspective on our daily responsibilities. Furthermore, honest work gives us the opportunity to be generous and help those in need. It should not just be a means to accumulate wealth, but a tool to build something meaningful and lasting. Biblical lessons about money are not just theories, but principles that, when applied, transform lives. However, knowledge alone is not enough. Real change happens when we put these truths into practice, making conscious decisions aligned with the correct values. The biggest mistake many people make is waiting for the perfect moment to act, but the reality is that there will never be an ideal time. Time passes, and every day we postpone a wise financial decision is a day that could be bringing us closer to a more prosperous and balanced life. Proverbs 21:5 teaches us that well-laid plans lead to plenty, but those who are in a hurry always end up in misery. This means that discipline and planning are key to achieving financial stability. Small daily actions, such as saving a percentage of your income, eliminating unnecessary debt, and seeking knowledge about investments, make a big difference over time. It doesn't matter what your situation has been until now. The good news is that there is always time to start over. God wants His children to live in a wise and balanced way, using resources with discernment and purpose. The decision to change is in your hands. Throughout this study, we have seen that the Bible contains profound teachings about money, work, and prosperity. Each principle covered here has the potential to transform your financial, spiritual, and emotional life. But remember, knowledge without action does not bring results. Now is the time to take the first step. Choose at least one of the principles presented and start applying it immediately. It could be something simple, like establishing a financial reserve, eliminating an unnecessary expense, or creating a plan to pay off debt. The important thing is to act. If this content brought clarity and value to you, take the opportunity to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share this knowledge with other people and leave in the comments which of these lessons impacted you the most. Your engagement helps to strengthen this message and reach more people who need this transformation. The first step towards a balanced financial life starts now. True prosperity is not just in the amount of money we accumulate, but in the impact we generate with the resources God has entrusted to us. When we follow sound principles, we find balance, peace, and security, regardless of external circumstances. Many people live trapped in limiting beliefs about money, believing that thriving is not compatible with faith. But as we have seen, the Bible teaches us exactly the opposite. Prosperity does not mean ostentation or selfishness, but rather responsibility, wisdom, and generosity. By applying these teachings, you not only improve your life, but also become a channel of blessings for others. Your choices today can impact future generations, building a legacy of stability, integrity, and purpose. The journey to a healthy financial life doesn't happen overnight, but every step in the right direction makes all the difference. Trust that God wants the best for you and make decisions that reflect that truth. The time to live with purpose and financial wisdom begins now.